You're observing a new teacher, the lesson plan is on point, they have the room set up for a great activity, learning targets are clear, they are ready to teach. They've included everything real world connections, learning extensions, even created a fun exit slip where the big idea of the day can be applied to a real life problem. What could go wrong? Well, unfortunately, the answer is a lot. There are 30 variables that may or may not cooperate with those plans, and success rides on how well your teacher manages those variables. What are they? Well, they're the students. Their behavior can make or break a lesson, and how well your staff can manage the room will determine how much learning can be accomplished. Enter behavior management. Behavior management is a plan or set of actions that a teacher can utilize to ensure students have an optimal learning environment. In other words, it focuses on creating the conditions for the lessons to succeed. Now, what needs to happen or not happen to create those conditions? Number one, set the routine. Emphasize the importance of routines to your staff. The class should have a rhythm or flow to it that is expected and known by students. So, how does class start? Do students know how to transition between segments of class? Do they understand routines for asking for supplies or hall passes if they need help? Invest some time early in the year on teaching kids how to do school. It may seem redundant or obvious, but it will pay dividends and save you time throughout the semester. This goes beyond the classroom as well. Teach students how to transition between rooms, proper cafe etiquette, and how to properly behave during events such as assemblies or pep rallies. That's a staple of a good PBIS program. Number two, establish clear expectations. Does the lesson require something different than a normal routine? Your teachers need to be very clear and upfront about what it is they need students to do. A science teacher needs to be a pro at this, as they often have supplies involved in lessons. How do they get those? Who will get them? What can they do with them? What can't they? By setting clear expectations, you aren't just setting the tone for a smooth lesson, you're ensuring a safe lesson as well. Consider modeling this during faculty and staff meetings. Put expectations on the projector and take great care to explain how and why of things to your staff. Number three, build relationships. This one is the secret sauce of good classrooms and great schools. We need to invest in kids, not monetarily, but in positive behavior supports. Think of it as deposits toward your culture. Greeting students at the door is easy. Offer a fist bump or a handshake or at least an air five. Say their name. This one is a big one. People relate well to other people who state their name. Make it your mission to learn one thing about each of your students, then use that knowledge. Ask them how soccer went last Saturday, or when the first night of the new school play is, or if they're excited about the new video game release. It doesn't matter what, but they will take note that you remember and you cared enough to ask. A good rule to live by here is that we need to strive for 5 positive interactions for every redirect. Students are going to have bad days. Your ability to help them through that and to re-engage in the lesson or the day is going to largely depend on how well you built that relationship on the good days before, so you need to invest wisely. Number 4, focus on proximity over volume. When a student appears to be off task, how do you redirect? Do you even need to? The simplest way to get a student back on track is often just by closing the distance between you and the student's desk. Put that in your teacher's toolbox to avoid dealing with power struggle referrals. This is a subtle social cue to the student that the teacher is aware they're off task, and for most students, they will correct themselves. Obviously, that won't cure all ills, but it is the least impactful place to start. Set the room so they can move about easily. Teachers need to be mobile during the lesson. You got to get your steps in sometimes. Active supervision means being active in the room. This also allows them to redirect a student one-on-one instead of in front of the entire group. Much more likely to result in a positive result. As a principal or school leader, we need to model this. Be mobile during the day, talking to students, building rapport so you can redirect without creating more issues that already exist. Number 5, engage all students. Emphasize to your staff that all means all when it comes to our kids. We need to strive to reach all our students. Find ways to keep all students engaged in the class. Have a system for calling on students to answer questions. Sometimes this comes rather naturally. Sometimes you need a specific system. Either way, you should be intentional. If a student knows they'll be called on to answer or go to the board or solve a problem, they're more likely to be engaged in the learning. There are many ways to keep everyone involved at once as well. Technology has made this seamless in the classroom as you can create digital polls or message boards that everyone can respond to. Once again, model this behavior in your building. Go out of your way to include students in school events that aren't normally highlighted. Number 6, praise. Praise the behaviors you want to see more of. Thank students for having materials out and ready on the bell. Thank them for using appropriate procedures. Praise will be noticed and internalized. When I had a class that was less likely to throw hands up to answer questions, I always pulled out a big bag of Jolly Ranchers to toss out for those who participate in the discussion. Have fun with it. There's no age limit to having fun in a classroom. My seniors love my Jolly Rancher discussions just as much as my eighth graders once did, and probably more. As a school leader, I do this all day long. My goal is to not walk by a student without creating a positive interaction. A simple thank you for following our school-wide expectations, coming by a good morning, goes an awful long way in creating fidelity in your programs. These are all strategies that will help your teachers maintain an organized and productive classroom environment, as well as positive school culture. I want to leave you with a couple thoughts that are sometimes overlooked with behavior management concerns. The first of which is the room itself. When you're conducting walkthroughs in classrooms, are you considering the space? Is the physical layout conducive to success? Can you move about the room freely? Are the seating chart well thought out? Is the hall pass a little too convenient to access? Can you see all the students at all times? Can they see the teacher and the board? Every room's a little different. Spend some time thinking through how you and your students will move through the room. The best advice for this is to try and sit in the room as a student would. Try to access the things that they need. Can you do so without causing disruption? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. This is a great way to assist new teachers, as this is a concept that often isn't taught in teacher prep programs, but veteran teachers have often mastered it. The last thing I want to leave you with is the redirection itself. How does your staff get a group back on track once they swerved off course? Do they wait for them? Do they use the Give Me Five method? Do they have a special clap? They need an intention getter, one that won't cause more negative interactions than necessary. It doesn't really matter what it is, as long as your students are familiar with it and what it means. So include the redirection method in your expectations and routines. Make it consistent. Be creative with this. Make it yours. Let students help you come up with something they agree they will respond to. The more student ownership and routines, the better, because the best classrooms in school will function as a small community would. When they take responsibility for that community, your academic ceiling will rise dramatically.